and organizers, and we're just going to go down the row and introduce, all our hostess are going to introduce themselves, and we'll start on the end.
I'm Michaela Stafford.
I'm Leslie Williams.
I'm Tanya Sanchez.
Alicia Chapman.
Lisa Fletcher Carter.
Corey Lucero Perkins.
And so there were several other hostesses that were out of town but supported this event. So I want to thank you all, welcome you all, and just say that we're here today because we're Women For Tracie, who's running for mayor of Elk Grove. It's tough for women to run for any race. Many of you are here that are part of politics, know what it takes, and it is tough. And this race is going to be as tough as any race. So, we are glad that you all come. We hope that you can, support, learn more about what our platform is. And if any of the other hostesses want to say something.
Ditto.
Okay, so without further ado, we'd like to bring our future mayor.
Well, thank you, and thank you all for coming. As Kendra said, it is very different, running as a woman, and especially in a city that has never elected a woman to mayor, let alone a woman, an African-American woman, to anything in the city in its history. So what we are attempting to do here is really make history. It is absolutely groundbreaking, and anyone who has read any history book knows that does not come easily. So we know what we're facing. And I will tell you, as having lived in the area for 17 years, I will tell you that it's absolutely worth it. And I will say when I moved here, my husband and I, and Brian's here, round of applause. But when we moved here, we had 3 children and a 4th on the way. And we moved from San Leandro, Hayward area in the Bay Area. And the town, we were looking for something that was affordable, that had a reasonable cost of living, that had low crime, that was diverse, and had good schools. Now that is this area, that was Elk Grove. And again, that was 17, almost 18 years ago. And we had expected, it was a, up and growing city. It was one of the fastest growing in the nation. And we had expected that along with that growth, the governance would also grow. And what we're seeing here, almost 20 some odd years later, is that we're still looking at a system that is running as though it's for 40,000 people instead of 175,000. So what you hear more often than not is talk of land use, where we're bringing in more and more and more residents as a model, basically, in terms of how we're funding ourselves. But the problem is, we're bringing in these people, and we don't have the infrastructure to support the residents that are here. And I was surprised to find out that when the general plan was created, the environmental study showed, even at that time, that the infrastructure could not support the plan. But we overrode it, and we continued as usual. And these are the types of decisions that are being made without the residents in mind. And that's basically the reason that I'm running, is because the lens through which our city is governed doesn't see us as residents. We need a true economic development plan that fits Elk Grove, that fits who we are, not trying to make us a technological mecca or make us a medical mecca, but actually look at who we are organically. And organically, Elk Grove is a bedroom community. We started that way as basically a rest stop on the way from San Francisco to Sacramento, and then we moved forward and bringing like a suburb of Sacramento, so folks were working in Sacramento, but we're living here in this wonderful town. And we need to go back to those roots. Who are we? What makes sense for us? And a little bit about me. As I mentioned, I am from San Leandro. Grew up in the Bay Area. We were one of the first families of color to integrate that area. But we are the 7th most diverse city in America, and I would like to see us become a model city for equity and inclusion. And we have the ability to do that. We absolutely have the ability to do that because we've never worked on it. And we are, again, at a time in our city that if we don't begin to focus on the community rather than bringing in more community, that we will start to see our quality of life diminish. And I know that many of us have seen that. And for those of us who moved here with our families for the quality of life, what's happening is those other families that have invested in Elk Grove are not seeing that same Elk Grove that we saw. They're able to experience allowing their kids to go out and play the way that we did. They're seeing traffic taking an hour and a half to drive 20 miles. And then within the city, it's even more challenging. So the focuses that we have in terms of the campaign are to focus on what we call, first of all, our foundational sort of quality of life issues. And that begins with, of course, traffic and how we deal with that. And as mentioned before, the infrastructure, the way it is currently, is not able to support that. So we really need to be working with the region, with the county, with regional transit, with light rail, and actually bringing public transportation into Elk Grove. Number two, of course, we need to be dealing with our crime. And I know that we're seeing it, we're hearing it much more frequently than ever before. And that is most definitely a challenge. And we wanted to actually focus on community policing, where our officers are actually in the communities, learning and getting to know the residents. We also need to focus on jobs. And when I say jobs, generally the focus is bringing in new business, which of course we always want that to happen. But the challenge is that what we're bringing in are more strip malls, minimum wage jobs. And we truly need to focus on bringing in livable wages. And what does that mean? And that is not, with a median income of $77,000-ish, a $25,000, $30,000 job that is coming to the city is not going to sustain those families. So we really need to focus on our number two employer. Number one is government here in Elk Grove, but our number two employer is small business. And that small business is the number one employer in America. And what we need to be doing is focusing on those small businesses. I'm sure that most of you are aware that we have had some race relations challenges in our city. And it's not because things have gotten worse, it's just because people are speaking out now. And that is a beautiful thing, and it gives us an opportunity to make some much needed change and to put a voice to what has been silent or silenced for so long. And again, there's a huge opportunity to make that happen. There's by-district voting. And a lot of folks may not know what that means, but by-district voting is when each district votes for its own city council member. That's not happening right now. What's happening is that the entire city votes for the council members for the entire city. And it shouldn't be that way. District 2 should elect its District 2 council member. And then that council member is accountable to those people. And that's extremely important for many reasons. And finally, we truly want to focus on our youth. And we have quite a few programs for children under the age of 12, but anyone who has raised a teenager, once you get past that age, they're hanging out at Dutch Bros, they're at parks without supervision, and we don't actually have community centers in our parks. So basically it's just the land. So they're hanging out, they have no place to go, and they have nothing to do. So if they stay in the area, again, they're in these places, that could cause them trouble. Or they're headed out to Sacramento doing God only knows what. So we really do need to focus on bringing in programs for our youth, bringing in activities, actually bringing in businesses that will entertain and sustain them so that we can actually keep them out of trouble and focus, again, on those older kids. So having said that, that's what we're working on, the top three, which is the traffic, the crime, and the livable wages. And then by district, something for our children to do, and most importantly, focusing on being a model for equity and inclusion. So with that, do we have any questions?
What do you think is the biggest challenge that you're facing that you share anyway in terms of how it is to run as a woman in Elk Grove?
Running as a woman, as we mentioned, is challenging anyway. But running as a woman in Elk Grove, attempting to do something that's never been done before, is even more challenging because we have to get first through the sensitivity. I mean, I'm sure people that are going to be watching this are saying, she said, first African-American woman. And they're going to be absolutely uncomfortable. And I challenge those of you who are watching this and who are not here in the room to ask yourselves why that is. Why does it make you so uncomfortable to hear someone make that comment when it's just the data? And that's just the basics. I mean, I have to start first to get people to see that it's a possibility. I have to first open their minds to a place where they could see this even happening before I can open my mouth to talk about what it is that I want to do, what my qualifications are, what the issues are, and how I expect to make change there. So that is really the biggest challenge. I first have to educate and open the minds of people before I can even begin. Ooh, I got off easy. All right. Good crowd. Hey, well, thank you. I'll stay. Okay.